Okay, so I'm starting a new series on my channel here, the Septuagint versus the Masoretic, and it is on the book of Jubilees. I'm going to narrate the full book of Jubilees. It is roughly, it says 37 chapters. No, more than that. Okay. This is also called the Little Genesis. And so there's 50 chapters, so it would be 50 videos of me narrating this book. And it's one of the most underread books. It really has been underexposed. A lot of people are not aware of this book, and a lot of people have not read it. And when I say people, I'm talking about believers in Christ, or even Jewish believers in general. Not so many people on this earth have read this book, the book of Jubilees. And I believe it's a shame, because if you appreciate, if you believe in the book of Genesis, if that is one of the foundations of your life, of the way you think, the way you act, the way you behave, you really owe it to yourself to read this book. And so that's why I'm doing this series. I typically strongly recommend this book to any believer to read it. I have not found anything that really contradicts the Torah, anything in the Old Testament and the Tanakh. So I'm going to do a commentary on this book for this video. So I am reading from as you see there, the Ethiopic version of the Hebrew book of Jubilees. Actually, I'm reading the English translation of that Ethiopic version. And this was, in fact, translated by R.H. Charles. This is my preferred version of this text. So what I read in that previous video of chapter 1 of Jubilees, you can see how it's a lot more detailed, and you're going to notice that for every chapter of this book. It's very much, if you think of what we have in Genesis, the way it is presently in the Masoretic or the Septuagint, basically it's the Reader's Digest of what happened. The book of Jubilees is the full version. It's not the synopsis. It's very much the full series, episode 1 to episode, it's every moment that kind of fills in the blanks of the major plot points of the book of Genesis. So just for this chapter 1, we can see how it only confirms keeping of the commandments, specifically the covenant, the Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath, the holy days that were described further in Leviticus 23, talking about other commandments as well that relate to the calendar, such as new moons, which are to be observed every month by the sighted crescent moon, of course. And then you have the Jubilee year, which was every, I believe, 50 years. It doesn't say it here, but the land Sabbath, which would kind of be implied when you say Sabbaths, that includes a land Sabbath. So not only the weekly Sabbath, but the annual Sabbaths, which are every 7 years, the Shemitah, right? So, and it only further validates the claim of the children of Israel that they are the chosen people. God has chosen them to be a light, and he's starting with them. He's chosen them. It's his prerogative to do that. And it's talking about a time of their ignorance. And eventually they will be restored, and God will once again be their father. And he's going to create in them not just circumcise their heart, but it create in them a new spirit, which further confirms what the prophets have said, that how he will give them a new spirit and a new heart. So again, I don't see anything that contradicts the Torah or the prophets or the writings. There really is no contradictions in my mind when it comes to this book. So if you do have any opinions about this book being contradictory, please post them in the comment section. But as far as this narrative, or I should say these narrative videos where I'll be doing narration, I will not be inserting any of my opinion or commentary, only in these expository videos where I get to comment on it after the fact, after I've read the chapter. And there were a number of footnotes here. I'm not sure if there's anything notable here. So I'm just looking at the footnotes just to see if there's anything that I should have mentioned, because I don't want to stop in the middle of the video as I'm reading. To read a footnote kind of ruins the flow of the narrative and just the storytelling. So there was a statement in verse 16. It talks about, I will remove them the plant of uprightness. So the footnote here says, remove them the plant of uprightness. So this expression, the plant of uprightness, it says equals Israel from the outset. So it's saying Israel is that plant. Original is perhaps in Jeremiah 32, verse 41. And then it says here, not improbably in this land was lost after the verb. So they're saying perhaps it means I will plant them in this land. Reversal of the judgment is required here. They shall be for a blessing and not a curse. Okay, I believe that's in the same. Yeah, that's in the same verse. Interesting. And it further reinforces that God will not forsake them in verse 19. I will not forsake them nor fail them. So that's kind of reiterating, reinforcing what was told to Joshua as well. I will be their father. And verse 24 is a very Christian-like statement or belief. And there's also a Jewish belief as well, but I think it's more emphasized in the Christian faith, however, that God is a father and he has a son. But I don't see any mention of Messiah here yet. So there's only the start of this series, so this is the first commentary video. We're going to do chapter 2. I don't know how many chapters I'll do tonight. Maybe I'll just do 2 chapters, but I hope you enjoy the series. And I was kind of debating whether I should show my face during these videos when I narrate, because they tend to get emotional. The first time I read this book, I was in tears, because it is very much a heightened emotional description of the events of Genesis, again filling in a lot of the blanks. And if one were to kind of use a modern analogy, if you compare it to our modern mass media or popular media, it would be, the Book of Jubilees would be akin to like the Jane Austen or the chick flick of the Bible. It's really getting into the heart and soul and emotionality of the book of Genesis, where if you read the book of Genesis, it, for the most part, it does lack compared to the book of Jubilees, just because it doesn't fill in all the blanks. It's not as descriptive. I'm not saying there's no emotionality in the book of Genesis. Certainly there is, especially with Joseph, the story of Joseph. But this just gets even deeper. So whatever emotionality there was, emotional impact in the book of Genesis, this is only magnified, at least tenfold, if not exponentially. So thank you very much for your time. Stay tuned. We're going to look at Jubilees chapter 2, and if I have any commentary, I'll do a brief commentary on that. So this is the rationale behind this new series, and I hope this blesses you as it has blessed me. Reading this book is only magnified and added to my appreciation and my reverence and my relationship and just my overall love for God and his holy word, the Torah, the Tanakh. It has not taken away from it. It's only added to my faith, and I guess you could say it fueled the fire even more. So that's why I'm doing the series. I hope it does the same effect for others. And that's it for this video. Thank you very much. Shalom and Maranatha.